welcome to the channel. Today is March 20th, 2022. This is the 5th episode of the Sunday Sum Up. Appreciate you stopping by and taking the time. First off, I want to start off with, I do have a new microphone, and I had some problems getting this baby set up. My old mic, which I really liked, and I didn't want to have to get a new mic, but it went flat on me for whatever reason, and I just could not get it straightened out. So Normie wife, I had an agreement with her when I started this channel that I would buy the cheapest everything to start out with, and then if I stuck with it for 6 months, then I could go to her and start talking to her about getting some upgrades, like some real actual audio equipment. And it's been 6 months, so yay for me. This is a microphone that I've been wanting to. I was checking different mics out, and there's a lot of microphones that are standard and everyone uses them. I'm not that type of person. I always like to choose just something that's just a little off the beaten path. I don't like wearing what everybody else wears and doing the same, the same sayings and little catchphrases and shit. I'm just one of those people. I don't know, knucklehead, I guess. But so I do have a new mic, and I wanted to record yesterday because this is Sunday, and this this microphone, I spent, I don't know, 2 hours Friday night after work trying to figure this thing out. And I had some help from a coworker of mine who's a musician. Shout out to Preston. And thank you for your help, man. But he helped me. I called him on the phone, and he walked me through, and he got me set up. And I hung up the phone with him. And then yesterday I was gonna get on here and start doing my notes and getting ready. And my microphone, I don't know what I did, but I clicked some from 2-channel to mono or something like that, or stereo to mono, and it messed my sound up. So it was only coming out of my left speaker. And I sat here in this chair for like 2.5 hours yesterday, just trying to sort it out. I was so fucking irritated, but I looked it up, I got online, started typing in a bunch of questions, and I finally figured it out that it was some sort of setting that I had clicked in my settings, but I don't even remember clicking it. But I made that one little tab, boom, and now it works just fine. So, but yeah, that was like 4.5 hours, 5 hours of just getting this very simple setup. This is not, I don't have anything special here. This microphone is the nicest thing that I purchased for this channel. So I'm happy to have it though. It's nice to not have to lean over the desk, so I feel a little more comfortable, which is cool. I can kind of kick back in my chair and read a little bit easier. I don't have to, I don't know, I always felt like I was hunched over, like I was like in the camera. So it's good. I'm happy. But I wanted to record yesterday, and this is why I couldn't. But whatever, it's good. Now let's move on to this week's news. So last week I was, what was it? I think I recorded it on Monday or Tuesday. So I was really late last week. So some of this stuff might bleed over from this past week, and then some of the week before. So I apologize, and I hope I don't repeat anything. I keep track of like what I go over, but sometimes I notice that I do touch on things twice, but whatever. Hopefully I don't do that. So let's kick this off. First on the docket here is Halo TV series. So there's some bad reviews that are coming out, and this was an article over on Games Radar, and I wanted to say I've said this before. I don't really care about media. I don't really care, games media and TV reviews, Rotten Tomatoes. I don't give a shit. So this doesn't really, I'm not going to base a whole lot on this. I'm not feeling like what these people say is now we just know this show isn't going to be good, or it's going to be average or mediocre. But that's the tone of these reviews. So there are a lot of, I guess, 7 out of 10s, average or decent is kind of the scoring. But I read through some of these, and I'm not going to read them all. I'm not going to read any of them, but there was like Variety, really, IGN, Collider. So these are Entertainment Weekly. These are not like, I don't know. I don't really trust their opinion when it comes to art in general, because what I've discovered is a lot of the times they're just going to say whatever, they're going to be in lockstep, and there's an agenda that's been going on. I know you've seen it, and I know I can see it. So they usually like to hate on certain things, and then they love to give these glowing reviews for very specific things. So, but anyways, having said all that, the reviews they're coming out and they're just basically saying that it's not that good. But it's a good start. And apparently, I guess the first two episodes is all they released to these reviewers so that they could give their initial impressions and get the reviews out so they can start getting these clicks and get nobodies like me to talk about it. But it sounds like it's not going to be good. And I'm not talking about their opinion, just about the things that they say in regards to the story. And it's kind of what I expected it to be. So Master Chief is basically globetrotting. I'm sorry, not globetrotting. He's in this conflict and he's with some teenage girl, and she's the key to everything. She's going to end the war or something like that. There's always, it's a very common theme, and it's a very tired theme. I'm really tired of the same old rinse and repeat style. And what sucks about this the most for me is I'm a gamer, and so I am a normie in most categories. I mean, I'm just an average person. There are a few things that I can speak a little bit more, in depth and talk about history and talk more in detail. Gaming is one of them, and this is based off a game, so it kind of falls in my arena a little bit. And I think it sucks. I wanted it to be good. I knew they were doing a TV series, and I know that Sony is pushing the big TV, I don't know what you want to call it. They want to start making their IP, which are video games, they want to make them into movies or TV series. I'm not a fan of that. And I've said it, I talked about, God of War, The Last of Us, Uncharted, all of these, and now, Halo TV series. It just sucks. I'm just not, I'm bummed because I want them to be done correctly. And what I mean by that when I say correctly is I want the people who make these TV shows and anything that's on the big screen, I want it to be made by people who at least play the fucking games, who at least know the lore. And it just sucks because this seems like the type of shit. And if I'm not mistaken, oops, see, I get used to that. If I'm not mistaken, I don't want to misspeak here, but if I recall them talking about I read an article and it was along the lines of, and this was from the writers and directors, creators, whatever. They had openly said that they didn't play Halo, and that when they were creating the story, they intentionally didn't want to talk about the game. They just wanted to do their own thing. And that to me is bullshit. That's not, I don't think that's good. I think that's a poor creative decision for starters. How the fuck are you going to do or make a story or create your own lore, or I'm sorry, create your own perspective of a story when you don't even know what the fuck you're talking about? That makes no sense. So when I read that, that was kind of like what piggybacked onto me. Like when the reviews started coming out, I started seeing videos on my feed. And so I started reading, looking at some articles, and I read that and I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, that's pretty fucking ballsy. That's like me, it's like Marvel with Disney right now. There's a lot of that going on where, you have these people who are in charge, who are making all the decisions for different IP, and they don't even take the time to read the source material, to watch the source material, to play the source material. They just want the IP. And the common theme is, let's take the IP and put some agenda bullshit into it. Let's make it, quote, current, which I fucking hate. Let's make it political. Let's make it a message. And it just sucks because, this is all entertainment. This isn't the news. I don't want to be reminded of all the world's problems or this country's problems every time I turn on a video game and I want to play through some, like Gran Turismo. I don't want to worry about the Russia-Ukraine shit while I'm playing Gran Turismo, and that's like that's where we're headed. it's starting to bleed into everything, and it's super fucking annoying. I just can't stand it. So just reading, just reading the article and hearing that they didn't even play the game and that they intentionally wanted to depart from the game altogether. They didn't want to be reminded that this was a video game. It's based off a fucking video game. It's what you have to do. It's just stupid. Same old shit. So, but I'm probably, so this is on Paramount Plus. I don't have a Paramount Plus account, and I think I would like to review this because this seems like something that, that I could have. And I don't want to say it's bad, and I don't want to say it's going to be bad. I just know that the trailer didn't do shit for me, and I don't think that they're going to do what I want them to do. Now, that doesn't mean that they're wrong. It just means that it's kind of turning me off of like, I don't really want to waste my time watching it. I don't want to watch a bunch of shit and come on here and talk about it. Some of it's kind of fun. Like when I did Hawkeye review, that was fun because that was comically bad. It was like a parody. So we'll see. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'm going to watch this. All right. Moving on to the next trailer that came out, sticking with movies. So Miss Marvel. Ms. Marvel, the trailer dropped, and I gotta say, this to me, this looked like the equivalent of like Spy Kids, like a movie that when my daughter was like 5 years old, that she would watch, and I thought it was just ridiculously stupid. Just cheesy, dumb, terrible acting, poor special effects, but my daughter loved it. My daughter thought it was super fun, it was exciting. And if that's what they're going for, if they're going for this young audience, because let's be honest here, originally Disney has always been geared towards children, specifically females, specifically little girls. You look at a lot of the IP, and there's a lot of princess, there's like the Disney princesses, like that's a thing. Another thing my daughter had was like a dozen dresses that I had to buy her that she loved to just dress up in. All Disney, Cinderella, Snow White, blah, blah, blah. So I get it. I understand that they've always been sort of geared towards young girls, and that's great. That's fine. No problem there. But this is Marvel. Marvel's based off comics. I'm sorry. Marvel is comics. I'm sorry. Miss Marvel is based off a comic. And the comic industry and as a whole is male customers. They're guys who are reading comics. Now, I wasn't one of those guys. I never got into comics, but that is a thing. And that's not me saying I don't think girls should read comics. That's not what I'm saying. It's just naturally, that's how, young boys and men huddled around the comic stores. It wasn't a girl place. It wasn't like a girl hangout. Little girls, were playing dress up and putting on princess dress and things like that. And I understand that there's a market, and I understand that Disney's trying to address that market. And I think it's a good thing. I don't think it's bad. I just think that this trailer or this movie is geared towards young girls. And I'm not a young girl, and my daughter is not a little girl anymore. She's damn near an adult. So I don't really have any interest in this whatsoever. And I laugh at it because, man, it looks bad. Like, just from a perspective of quality, looking at sort of the plot and what little they told us in the trailer, the main character, I think it's Miss Marvel or whatever, I don't know, there's no gravitas. And I think that this, like, if you compare, like, Moon Knight trailer came out, I don't know, a month ago or whatever. Now, I don't know who the fuck Moon Knight is. Never heard of that character until I saw that trailer. And I have a coworker who is a big comic book guy. He reads all the comics, collects toys and stuff. So I asked him, I said, hey, who's this Moon Knight guy? Is he cool? And he gave me the lowdown, and I was like, oh, nice. Okay, this character sounds intriguing. I'm down. I'm interested. I want to see what's going on here. And I thought the trailer was cool. I think Oscar Isaac is a really good actor. Everything's working out. This seems more, it's adult. It's geared towards adults. This seems to be geared towards young girls, young 12-year-olds, 10-year-olds. And that's fine. That's totally okay. It's just, if you were to compare Moon Knight's quality, the trailer of Moon Knight, just the quality, not the content, just the quality of the special effects and everything. This even just the cinematography, it just looks like Miss Marvel looks like a series on CW with a little bit of a budget. And you know, the there's nothing wrong with having actors who haven't hit it big. There's nothing wrong. I mean, there's a lot of, you think of a show like The Expanse. When The Expanse came out, I never knew that they were based on books. Well, in the credits, they say that based on a book from blah blah blah. But the actors in The Expanse, I had never seen them before. I had never seen any. Well, there's actually one, Christian. Her name's Christian in the show, but I can't remember. She has a really distinct voice. I knew her because she's a voice actor for some games, particularly Destiny. Um, but anyways, the actors in that show, I didn't know who they were, and it was fine with me. It didn't matter. I didn't, And when I started to see a few actors that I did know, I was like, oh, cool. I know that guy. I know that girl. That's cool. But what's going on here, and what I think Disney is doing, is they're saving a ton of money by casting these Shakespeare in the Park actors. These, they're actors who don't have any credentials under their belt. And I get it. Everyone's got to get their break, and I'm cool with that. But it doesn't mean it doesn't change the fact that the quality is low, that the acting level or the yeah, I guess I said it right the first time. The acting, the talent, that's the word. The talent is still not at the level of, like Oscar Isaac. He's been in a lot of movies. He's a good actor. Every actor in this trailer that I saw, it was like budget. It just didn't grab me in any way. And even the art style that they went with, I thought it was, it was definitely geared towards children. But I just think that it looked poor. It just looked like a lame little TV series. Like something you would see like, Sunday nights after Monday Night Football, or actually, before Monday Night Football, so that the kids would still be awake or whatever. It just seemed like some sort of cheesy little show, and I had no interest in it. And furthermore, just, like I said, I've said this before, I pay attention to characters, plot, storyline. I want to see quality stuff, and I want to know that what I'm going to spend my time watching is somewhat quality. And if it's not, speaking of like Hawkeye, I went into that show kind of knowing like this is probably going to be, I know what Marvel's been doing and what Disney's been doing. This is probably going to be the Kate Bishop show. I knew that was what was going to be before I clicked play, but I knew that going in. With this show, the main character, there's no real nuance to her character so far. Like just the trailer, I understand they're showing just a little sliver, but the whole point of a trailer is to get people excited, to invite them into a little made up story or a little world that has, it's exciting, or it's whatever, whatever they're going for, mystery, thriller, comedy, horror, whatever it is. But this, I thought, I couldn't figure out like what was going on. Like she's just some kid who wishes she was a superhero and then gets a wish. Like she gets her wish granted. And it was just sort of like this teen angst story that she becomes a superhero. It didn't seem like there was, oh, there's my dog. My dog just stuck her head through it. Sorry about that. It just didn't seem like there was any sort of character arc, like a hero journey or origin story. It really just felt like, what, here's an example. Think of like Morbius. When I saw Morbius, never heard of that character either. Didn't know dick about him. And when I saw the trailer, number one, it's Jared Leto. He's an accomplished actor. He's kind of a weird guy, but he knows how to act. When I saw him, it was like, okay, that was an immediate pull. There's a pull. You have a name. I'm in. Let me see what's up with Jared. Okay. Then when I started seeing the story, the trailer, even though it was like 90 seconds, it was telling me that, he was overcoming an illness. He was sick. He was dying, and he was a doctor, and he does something. He travels somewhere. He gets turned into, I don't know, like Man-Bat or whatever the hell you want to call him. But he turns into like this vampire looking like a gargoyle type, and he becomes, this hero. But in that trailer, you could kind of see already that there was a price to pay. Like, it wasn't some fountain of youth that had no repercussions. Him transforming into Morbius or whatever, if that's the name, that's what, there's a price to be paid there. He's going on a journey, and he's going to, you can already tell. Now, again, this is very cookie cutter for hero origin stories, but you could sort of see that he's going to have to learn to overcome something, you know? And in this trailer, it just seemed like there was this young girl. She talks about, you know, boys, and again, all stuff that I'm sure young girls will be like, oh yeah, I'm going through the same thing. Cool. That's great. But where was the journey? What's her story? Her story is that she fawns over, you know, cute boys. She doesn't like it when a girl pronounces her name wrong, which I thought was fucking ridiculous. My name, that's just, especially in middle school and high school. Dude, I used to get fucking called, people couldn't say my name. My name's pretty fucking easy. And people would say, how do you say it? You know, how do you spell it? And it was like, they made a point out of like, that was a big deal. Oh, okay, I guess. And just everything about it. And then she's daydreaming and she wants to be a superhero, and boom, she is. And the funny thing is that we didn't, like, you know, using Morbius as the comparison, sticking with that, we kind of see how he gets his powers, you know, very quickly. Again, this is all in a very short trailer. But in this trailer, she just puts on some bracelets and then boom, she's a superhero. And she even says as much. She even says, I'm a superhero, you know, and it's just like, I don't know. It just seems like low brow, low tier production and writing. And, you know, and this is the shit that, this is what Disney does now. This is what they've done with Marvel. And I guess it's par for the course. But, you know, I just thought, and again, I understand this probably not geared towards myself, which is fine because I'm not going to watch this. I'm not going to review it. I have no interest. I'd rather go see Morbius or take my time and spend nights watching Moon Knight and doing a review on that than even bothering with this, you know? So I don't know. We'll see. And the other thing too is there was some, you know, there was some agenda up in there, which I'm not even going to talk about. So I'm so tired of it. Don't really care. Moving on. So Better Call Saul dropped a trailer for season 6. Now, this one hit me in the feelers because I'm a big fan of this show. I'm a big fan of Vince Gilligan. Vince Gilligan. I think that's his name. I think that's how you say his name. Vince Gilligan. I think he's a great writer and producer. He worked on Breaking Bad, and he just has, the way he writes, it's not flawless. And there are inconsistencies in the story and sort of conveniences that happen that could easily have the story just fall apart. You know, if you watch Breaking Bad or you watch Better Call Saul, I think more Breaking Bad than Better. There are things that are just not being told from one character to the other. And if they would just communicate that information, then the story would not be there. Now, that's plot convenience, and it's kind of forgivable in some instances, this one being one of them, because the characters are so interesting. You know, all of the characters, the casting was so well done. The storyline was a good storyline. The plot, everything was great. And furthermore, I think that the creators and writers of the show, they do a great job of using camera angles, and they always find really neat ways of showing what their vision is. And I've always liked it. I'm a big fan of Breaking Bad, and Better Call Saul. It's been on hiatus for like, I don't know, Jesus, it's been like 2 years, maybe even more. And I think this is a good show. I recommend anybody, you know, if you want to go back and catch up to a show before the finale hits, I would absolutely recommend going and watching seasons 1 through 5, especially if you've seen Breaking Bad, because this is a spinoff. This is about Saul Goodman, the lawyer, and his origin story. His real name's Jimmy McGinnis, and how he becomes Saul Goodman. And even the name is, the whole thing is just, it's a cool way of, this is how you do a prequel. I'm sorry, a spinoff, prequel, a spinoff. This is how you do a spinoff. This is very well done, and I really like it. All right, so let's move along here. I think that's it for the movies, yeah. So let's get into some gaming, and again, I'm gonna try to do a little bit more diving in on some like movies and a little more on TV shows. Mostly, I just touch on the stuff that's like topsoil stuff. That's things that are most people are going to see. The heavy hitters or the big market stuff. But I do want to dive a little bit more into TV shows. I think we're turning the pendulum is turning the pendulum I should say is swinging back slightly, and Hollywood is starting to mix in some quality with their agenda shit. It's not perfect, and I don't think that we as an audience, you or myself as audience members or customers, should ever settle for mediocrity. But right now that's what's been given. And I don't think that I think that we should be spending the money and supporting the things that we genuinely like. And that doesn't mean you should only support the things that I like to support. I mean, it doesn't matter what side you're on or what side of the aisle or that fucking political bullshit. Wherever you are, if something that you like for instance, going back to like Miss Marvel, if you like it, if you thought that it was a really cool trailer, I'm glad that people think it's cool. I'm glad if you think it's cool and you want to go watch it. If it's something that you think oh, my daughter would love this, or my niece, or my nephew, or whatever, my family or myself would really love to watch this movie or this show, by all means, have at it. Support the things that you like. The problem that I have right now is there's just been such a departure from quality for a good 7 years now. I mean, we know why. You know why, I know why. Hollywood just lost their fucking mind all of a sudden, and they're just throwing out this uber apology and virtue signaling and agenda and making everything current, which I just stop it already. Just get back to what was good, because the thing is when it comes making movies is like comedy. When you start cutting out pieces of things that you're not allowed to talk about, you're not just protecting feelings, because that's what it's always based on, is feelings. You're taking that art form and you're dissecting it and you're breaking it down into pieces that it doesn't need to be broken down into. Comedy, stand-up comedy in particular, is supposed to, everyone should be on the table. Jokes should be for everybody. One of the most funniest stand-ups that I've ever saw was Daniel Tosh's People Pleaser, and that was back in 2016. You want to talk about offensive? There was some shit that he said in there that I was like, damn, I can't believe he said that. But I was laughing my ass off. And I think it's a great stand-up. I think it's only an hour special. I thought it was fantastic. It was just paced well. The comedy was good. And he went after just pretty much anybody. And that's what, comedians can, I think comedians should be able to, if they're left-leaning and they want to aim at the right, if they're right-leaning and they want to aim at the left, that's fine. As long as everyone can just, say what they want to say. As long as it's funny, people are going to show up. People are going to pay for it. And I just feel like, Hollywood right now, they're in this position, and they've put themselves in this position that they're trying so hard to please everyone. They are trying so hard to make themselves look like they're virtuous, and they're not. They're full of shit. You look at Disney, they're going out of their way to look virtuous. They're going out of their way to look like they're so progressive, or they're so whatever, they're so current, they want to be on the right side of history, but they say that to your face. They say that in front of the camera or in articles or on Twitter, but behind the scenes, they're not fucking doing that. That's not what's happening. and unfortunately, people get fooled by that. Some people, they stand by Disney through and through, and they're just like, oh my God, they're an amazing company, and look what they're doing. They're so special, and they're so brave, and blah, 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 blah. And then they fucking worship the CCP. It's like, and that's coming to an end at some point. At some point, because China is such a huge market that they're going to have to, the way things are happening right now, not to get political at all, but just things that are going on. Disney, I'm just be curious. I can't wait until China severs that that funnel of money. You know, when they cut them off with the bank account, all of a sudden, is Disney going to be like, oh yeah, we're so against that? You know, they did all these bad things. You know they are. You know, and that's how you know. That's how you know it's bullshit. I mean, you look at Disney and what they did with John Boyega, you know, in Star Wars. I think, you know, Star Wars is pretty much dead to me. I mean, the shit that's out right now, I think is just shit. You know, The Force Awakens. I think it was The Force Awakens. It was The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi. The movie trailer. I'm sorry, the movie poster. You know what they did? They took John Boyega, who is black, and they minimized his character. They made him very small on the poster, the movie poster, for the Asian market because they're not cool with black people. That's not cool. So I mean, Disney does shit like that, and no one talks about it. No one says anything about it. They're still great. They're still amazing because they're so brave and they're so accepting. Really, that doesn't sound accepting. Why would you change that? If you're gonna stand by your morals, fucking stand by them all the time. Don't just do it when you're being paid to do it. And don't just do it. And don't keep your mouth shut and say nothing and, you know, allow shit to happen that you're doing. Allow that just to sort of fly under the radar just to protect your money. That's fake. That's fake shit. And that's why I see it's going on. So sorry. Just had to get that off my chest. I was thinking about it when I was writing some of this stuff, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to bring it up, but fuck it. Why not? I mean, it's not, I'm not lying. You know, the thing that happened with John Boyega, that happened. That's a thing, you know, and I'm not okay with that. You know, and I think, you know, Disney talking like they're so brave and special, you know, I don't think so. All right, let's move along here. Let's get into gaming. So I'm still playing Gran Turismo, still loving it, still having fun. I'm at car collector level 20. There's a couple of things. I actually forgot to put down notes on this one, but there was some maintenance problems. So they did an update, and apparently there were some problems. There were some issues going on with it. And I feel bad because as I'm reading this right now in my notes, I'm like, fuck, I forgot to look this up. So what I can recall reading was there was something going on with the microtransactions, and there's something going on with this update, and that's about all I can say in detail, because it was headlines that I was reading. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to talk about this, and then I didn't get a chance to like really dive into the article or anything. So I know that there was an issue, and I think it was on Wednesday or Thursday. I was going to game that night after work, and I got all situated and ready to go, and I turned on my PlayStation, and Gran Turismo wouldn't start. It just sat there with the fucking wheel, the loading wheel, and it's because Gran Turismo 7 isn't always online. You must have internet connection to play it. That's something that I forgot to mention when I first started talking about it. That's a problem. This is exactly why I don't like always online, unless you're playing like a multiplayer game or some sort of MMO, Elder Scrolls Online, Destiny, you know, Halo multiplayer. You have to have internet connection for those things. You have to. It's the way it goes. But when you're talking about a racing game, it's okay to have multiplayer in it, which I'm totally fine with, which I haven't touched yet. You can't lock that shit down on the single player can't be locked down to internet connectivity. Like, I think that's just terrible. I think it's the worst decision. So I went to log in and it wouldn't work, wouldn't boot up. I was very irritated. And then I went online and looked, and apparently, and I saw that their post, they had said that they had some issues with one of their updates, their latest update, and they needed more time for maintenance, and they needed to go and I forgot how they worded it. It was along the lines of they need to fix what they broke, essentially, is how I read it. So they fucked something up. But regardless, the game is still really good. I was just playing it last night, still having a lot of fun. I've reached the point in the game now where I'm now moving into, I'm out of the just a car on the street, souping it all the way up and spending all this money on it and taking it into a race. Like, that's not working anymore, because now I'm racing against actual race cars, and I'm in my very first championship where it's just all straight up race cars. And and now it's like it changes the game, and now it's starting to really get good. So I'm excited. Wasted a bunch of fucking money on a car though, because I didn't know. I went in and I was like, oh cool, I'm gonna buy this car. I bought a Nissan GTR. I spent all this money on it. I was like, yeah, painted it, got the rims, and got all the fixings for the engine and everything. And then I get into the race, and I see who I'm racing. I'm like, whatever. Got my ass kicked. I could barely get fifth, barely. So yeah, so I wasted like, I don't know, it's like $500,000 in game credits. But regardless, still fun. Also, I booted. So there's been I've been talking a lot about and referencing God of War. And God of War Ragnarok comes out this year, so I have been wanting to get back into it. I want to finish that game. So I booted it back up. I had it stored on I have an external hard drive that I have for my PS5, and I had moved that game over to that so that I could free up some space, because the fucking PS5, there's just not enough space in that hard drive. On the solid state drive, there just isn't. But regardless, I wanted to play it again. And I thought, okay, it's a 4-year-old game. It's for previous generation console. Let's see how it looks. Man, it fucking looks good. I mean, it still looks really good. And it's the level that I'm in, and I think I'm pretty far along. I'm in I forgot how you say his name. I think it's a Tears Vault or Tires Vault, Tears Vault. And the combat, immediately I got right into a combat situation. And I was like, oh shit, this the controls. There's so many little moves and things, and I just forgot like the layout of the buttons and everything. So it took me a minute to get my bearings and sort of get a handle on, the gameplay and everything. But, I gotta say, I played, so when I first booted it up, I only played about 45 minutes, just sort of knocked out, finished the level that I was on, and kind of moved the story to the next chapter. And it was, I was blown away that I was playing Horizon Forbidden West, and I'm not taking back anything that I said about the game, the good stuff. I'm not saying that I'm not changing my opinion, but when you compare Horizon Forbidden West, the story, the acting, the dialogue lines and the way they're delivered, man, it was just like a stark contrast to God of War. And it was just God of War is just like so many tiers above where Horizon is in terms of story and acting. Horizon looks fantastic, looks great, and combat's fun, all that shit. But I just realized just how mediocre Horizon Forbidden West story and characters are, and and there was only a few little moments there where it's not the one thing that God of War did is they did away with cutscenes. It's one camera angle, one camera angle, one view, the entire, from beginning to end, from the time, even from the menu. When you press start on the menu, that's the camera angle that you will see the entire time. It never changes, because the story is being told to you through Kratos' experience with his son Atreus and the adventure and the journey that they go on. And Horizon does the traditional cutscenes, and that's fine. I don't have any. That's apples and oranges comparison there. But the level of the acting was just so well done. It was top tier. And when I was listening to them talk, Kratos was talking to Atreus. There was where I'm at in the story, it's pretty far along, so he's definitely warmed up to his son now. They're definitely have a stronger bond, and Atreus knows who he is now. And it's so interesting because there were a couple of moments there when Kratos is talking to his son, and it was just so powerful. My eyes were glued to the screen, and I was just like, "What? Oh my god, this is so good!" And I like I said, I just booted it up just to kind of get familiar again and play a little bit. That 45 minutes just blew by, and I was late. I was getting tired, but I was like, man, that was fucking great. Man, I missed this. And so I booted it up again the next night and started playing it some more, got a little bit further, and I'm going to finish it. I'm going to stick with this game. I mean, I've put 15 hours into Horizon Forbidden West. And again, I'm not saying that it's shit, but it just when I shouldn't have booted up God of War. I should have finished Horizon, because now I'm already like, Horizon, it's not trash, but story-wise, character-wise, dialogue, not even fucking close. So, yeah. Yeah, it's a great game. Highly recommend it. God of War, if you haven't played it, just go fucking play it. Especially because they're coming out with Ragnarok this year. Oh, and there's one thing. I put this on my notes. So last week I had mentioned Kratos' backstory, and I don't know why, and I do this sometimes. Like my brain just, I don't know, just treated my brain too bad when I was young, and abused my brain and my body. But he's not an Egyptian god. And that's what I said. I was listening to my video after I posted. I didn't even catch it when I reviewed it. When Normie wife was doing the editing and stuff, I didn't, because I always review them, and I didn't even catch it then. But I had said twice that Kratos was the god of war, and he was, from the Egyptian gods, and he hated them, and he fled to the north to the Norse gods, and he was hiding. That's not true. It's the Greek mythology gods. So like Zeus, Apollo, Hermes, Hercules, and God of War, Ares was in the original game. And in the original game, Ares is on a warpath. He's the god of war, and he's destroying everything. And so the gods task Kratos to take out Ares. That's the whole point. And once you kill him, once he does kill him in the game, then Kratos becomes the god of war, and hence the name. So, but not Egyptian. So I wanted to make that correction real quick. Sometimes I just say shit, and it's not intentional. I'm not trying to mislead anybody, but I just get my thoughts get crossed up sometimes. So moving on here, Dying Light is getting a remaster. Dying Light 1, the first one. So Dying Light 2 just came out like a month ago, and I'm not a big horror fan, but this game focused. I'm a big fan of zombie games, and this game really focuses a little bit more on the sort of the parkour, and that's what everyone keeps talking about. The parkour is amazing. There's nothing better. I'm not a big parkour player. I think Assassin's Creed, when it was at its prime, the parkouring of Assassin's Creed was fun, but back then, that was a long time ago. So, and I know parkour is like this big thing now. It's all over, YouTubers, and they're doing crazy shit, and it's cool. It's cool. It's pretty tight, but yeah, I just hear that a lot. Oh, the parkour is amazing in this game, but I don't know if I'll ever play it. And another thing I wanted to correct too as well. This is another correction. I also said that this game was developed by Ubisoft, not Ubisoft. It's Techland, and I don't know why I said Ubisoft. It was like just came out. So just to correct that, Ubisoft did not create and develop Dying Light. So Techland did announce that they are doing a remaster of the original, or the first Dying Light, which came out it came out a minute ago, 5 years ago, and it was good. From my understanding, I didn't play it. I didn't really have any interest in playing it. I'm not a big fan of first-person melee games. I don't like it. Even like Elder Scrolls Online, I play that game. I love that game, but you can change the view from first person to third person, and I have to always keep it in third person because I don't like the first person. Even with the original Skyrim, I hated the fact that it was first person. I hated playing it in first person. And all the trailers, I was like, well, I'm not playing this. And then you could change it to third person, but you could tell it wasn't really made for it. It wasn't that clean. But yeah, I'm not a big first person melee guy. But this sounds cool. And it's nice. I mean, and I believe it's a free update too. So that's good news. Let me see here. I think there was an article real quick. Let me pop over to that. Okay, that was, yeah. Yeah, so Dying Light gets free PS5 upgrade. Yeah, free for PS5. Patch coming soon to Xbox versions. So that's kind of interesting, kind of a bummer for Xbox users. So it says here, Techland announced that it has pushed out a patch for the original Dying Light that will enhance the 2015 game on PlayStation 5. A patch bringing the same enhancements to the game on Xbox Series X is on the way later, the studio said. The patch, available now, introduces 3 new video modes as well as 25% increase in-world viewing distance. Players may choose from a performance mode, 60 frames per second, to 60 frames per second in full high definition, quality mode, 30 FPS at 4K resolution, or balanced mode, aiming for 60 FPS in quad high definition. I'm not sure what quad high means, but I've never heard of that term before. I'm assuming it's in between, like 2K, instead of 4K, it's like 2K. That's kind of what I hear. So the update also offers enhancements for PS4 Pro owners, which is cool. It improves Dying Light's 30 FPS cap and brings a new networking solution to the game. So this is cool. I'm trying to see if it says anything about the... It doesn't say anything else. Here we go. Dying Light originally launched, blah, blah, blah. A re-release building the game with all of its DLC. Oh, where is it at? So on PlayStation 4, a sequel, Dying Light 2, Stay Human Revenge. Oh, it doesn't say. All right, regardless. So I thought it said something about when to expect it on Xbox. It just says coming soon. So bummer for the Xbox people. Let's see here. Let's move along. So the next one was I just wanted to talk real quick about Grand Theft Auto 5. The remaster came out. And I was right. I thought I went back and read that article, and then I actually went to some other YouTubers, some podcasters, and they were talking about the pricing for Xbox versus PlayStation. And there is a difference. Apparently, there was some sort of financial agreement between Sony and either Take-Two, who's the publisher, or Rockstar, who is the developer. And apparently that's the reason why it's only $10 for PlayStation users right now, or owners, I should say, to buy the upgrade or the PS5 version, and it's $20 for Xbox. So that kind of sucks, you know. I mean, it sucks, but it's business, right? I don't think it's personal. Obviously, there was some agreements in place prior to this, and still, I know some people were like, "Oh my God, why are we paying for this? We shouldn't have to pay for it. Why not? Why?" I don't understand that. I never understand the free PS5 or current gen, Xbox Series X. I will never understand the argument that they should just give it to us for free. Like Techland, them making their upgrade from Dying Light 1 that was on previous consoles, giving an upgrade for current gen consoles, that's cool. That's a cool thing. And I don't have any problem with that. Just to me, it's like, it's not required. I don't fucking have to do that. And furthermore, I mean, I don't know what their financials are. Maybe they got the money and they're like, who cares? We just want to do something nice for the fans. We want to be, customer friendly. That's cool too. Got no problem with that. The thing is when people say that, like Rockstar, like that it's not okay that they're making free games, or I'm sorry, free upgrades. People are going to pay for it. And if someone's going to pay for it, there's someone else who's going to charge it. That's just the name of the game. And I don't understand how the development for these upgrades for these current gen consoles and stuff like that, it's not free. It takes time. And there's like this misnomer where it's like, oh, it's just a couple of clicks on their development stuff, and boom, it's just upgraded and made for the current console. Like, that's not, I don't believe that in any way. It takes time. This game was developed specifically for a very specific set of hardware. Now, PS5 and Xbox Series X, there are probably similarities for sure to the hardware wise, but it's not the same. So it takes resources. It takes time. And I never understood that. Never understood that argument. People just get so bent out of shape about having to pay for a current gen upgrade. I don't know. I just don't have that same opinion, I guess. All right. Let's see here. Moving along. Perfect Dark reboot is having issues. So let's go over this story. This was on Video Games Chronicle. And first I want to talk real quick. So Perfect Dark, it came out in 2000 and it was developed by a company named Rare. And the game was, it was kind of like it was a sequel to GoldenEye. And I've spoke about GoldenEye before. Great game, loved it. Revolutionized the FPS genre forever. And it was on Nintendo 64. And when this game came out, I had no idea at the time what it really was. Now, I wasn't as deep into like developers and gaming and that type of stuff at the time. I was just more of an average normie gamer. Now, when I bought this game, I was like, holy shit, when I saw it, I remember seeing a commercial for it and I was like, oh my God, that looks just like GoldenEye. So I went out and bought a Nintendo 64 and that game that night. And loved it. Had a lot of fun playing it. So when I bought the game, I knew what I was getting into, but I didn't know like what the story was, and I don't really recall the campaign that well. The campaign wasn't a direct sequel in the storyline for GoldenEye. It was just more. It was his own story, but the multiplayer was identical to GoldenEye, and it even shared some of the same maps. So I really loved this game when it came out. I don't like I said I don't remember too much of the campaign. I remember I liked it. It was fun, but I really wanted to play multiplayer with my friends, so that's why I bought it. So let me see here. Let's go to the article real quick. Let's see. This was where was I at? Here we go. And also, so there's some issues going on with this. There is a. Let me see what else. I forgot what I put on there. Where are my notes? Okay. So the issue. This is a Video Games Chronicle article, and it was by Andy Robinson, and it says insiders describe quote Fast and Furious exits from Xbox's Perfect Dark Studio. As much as half of the core development team have quit in the past year. Initiative management says it's quote confident in its team. So Initiative is the developer. That's who's doing this reboot. And if I'm not mistaken, this is another third party partnership with Xbox. I don't know what's going on with Xbox. I've talked about this ad nauseum on this channel. I think they don't know how to manage their studios, their first party or the third party studios. Maybe that changes, maybe it doesn't. But this just doesn't look good for Xbox because once again, you have another issue with a third party studio, and it sounds to me, let's see, it sounds to me like this may have pushed the game really far back. Like even this article, they talk about how it was. Let's see. Let me see real quick. Let me scan this article real fast. They talk about how the game basically is being rebooted again. So as much as half of the core development team known to be working on the upcoming Perfect Dark reboot quit the company during this last year, or around 36 people. So that includes most of the Initiatives, which is the studio, the Initiative senior direct design team, including game director Dan Nierberger, design director Drew Murray, and level designer Chris O'Neill. Principal world builder Jolyn Myers. Sorry, I'm Jolyon. Jolyon Myers. Two senior systems designers, a group of 3 former God of War designers, and more. So let's see. Oh, and the turnover of top talent doesn't end in design. Perfect Dark's 2 most senior writers also recently quit. Damn, this is crazy. QA lead left. So it's now less than 50 people that are working on this project right now. And they were saying that they still have. Oh, that's right. So this is what I want to talk about. Sorry, this is kind of a lengthy article, and I couldn't remember the specifics. Kind of got a little distracted here. So Crystal Dynamics, who developed the Tomb Raider reboot, which was very successful. Very cool games. I liked them. They're a good dev. They know what they're doing, but apparently they're working. And I don't remember if Microsoft bought them or not. I don't recall. Regardless, they were brought in to help this initiative, the studio initiative with this reboot. And apparently, them coming in meant a lot of people that were initiative, veterans, they left. And this was, I mean, so I kind of have a little bit of insight on this one, just from a personal perspective. So the thing is so I worked for a tech company once, and when I got there, the name of the company was the only thing that I knew. And the longer I was there and kind of there my intro interviews and stuff, and then the more I was there, people started telling me like what happened. And in a nutshell, there was a tech company who was building, silicon and chips and stuff. And then a larger company came along and bought them. And when they bought them, some people stayed and their titles either transferred over, but it was under the new company name, or a lot of people left. Some people left willingly, some people were let go. And there was a lot of people there was like this divide, this dotted line of, oh, they're former so-and-so employees and these are new employees. And I was a new employee, which I didn't give a shit. It was just interesting because I didn't have never experienced that before. And when I was reading this article, I was like, oh, this kind of reminds me of the same thing. So to me, this doesn't necessarily reflect on Xbox per se, because when things like this happen, when two companies are brought and kind of slapped together, or you bring in a bunch of resources from one company to the other, this sometimes it's not necessarily a merger. It's like they're teaming up to finish a project or work on a project. This doesn't sound like that. This sounds to me like they brought in Crystal Dynamics because they are a good studio. I don't know really much about Initiative. I don't recognize them, but Crystal is a pretty known entity. So when they brought them in, it kind of sounds like it was a similar thing that happened with myself, where there were plenty of people who were like, fuck this, I'm out of here, I'm moving on. And that's what it sounds like. And these are like the lead people on this game. So I don't know if this is just an industry thing or if this is just poor management again, but it doesn't look good. It's just not a good look for Microsoft. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I do not think that they manage their studios properly. I don't think they're good. There's always something going on with them. They've hitched their wagons to so many third-party studios, and they've come up short in a lot of ways. So, and maybe this is just a whole new era. Maybe this is just sort of the remnants from last generation, and they're still working it out. But they acquired Activision, they acquired Bethesda. It's like, okay, at some point, when are people going to start holding Microsoft accountable? Because Xbox is now in charge of all of them. So when things like this slip, it's like, it's the quarterback. You always blame the quarterback. It always falls on the head coach or the quarterback. It never falls on like the kicker. You just replace the kicker. But when the whole franchise is failing, it's top down. It's top down management. So, all right, so let's move along here. Moving on to Gotham Knights. So this one I'm very excited about. Let me just make sure my camera is still rolling. Yes, we're still live. So this one, now there was some, this was a tweet, and I want to talk about some of the other stuff too. So was it a tweet? I think it was a tweet. Regardless. So WB Studios is the team that did the Arkham series games. So Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Arkham Knight. And those games were really good. I didn't really get into the second one, into Arkham City, which I understand is the best one. It just never, I don't know what it was. The game just didn't click with me. And I know sometimes it happens with some games, but that one just didn't. Arkham Asylum I thought was fantastic. I loved it. I didn't beat it, but I spent a lot of time on it. And then Arkham Knight, another one, I spent tons of time in that game. Didn't finish it, got really far. But they were really, really good. So I have a lot of faith in this studio. They know how to make a Batman game. So, and these characters are all sidekicks for Batman, so this works. And they released a story trailer. What's it called? The Court of Owls. And that released a while back, but I watched that, and then there was a gameplay trailer. It was like a pre-alpha trailer. I think it was pre-alpha or something like that, or beta, whatever. And so they showed off some of the gameplay, and then the story trailer for the Court of Owls, which was all sort of a cinematic thing. It was everything that I'm seeing for this game just looks badass, and I'm really excited. I am stoked for this game, and it's coming out. What was it? October 25th of this year. So everything looks good. I think the combat, the graphics, gameplay, everything looks good. I know now we start talking about like characters and shit, because Gotham Knights is not, again, being a normie, it's Red Hood, Batgirl, Robin, and Nightwing. It's those four sidekicks of Batman. And in the story, this is in the trailer, so I'm not spoiling anything. This is just the trailer. So apparently this story is based on Bruce Wayne. Batman dies, and he hands the keys over to these four characters, and you're going to be controlling these four characters. And apparently you can play the whole game by yourself, single player, controlling each. Now, I don't know how you character switch, I'm not sure, but you can control all of the characters, not at once, but you can decide who you're going to be. And then you can also play the whole game with co-op with one other player. So you can have, I could be like Red Hood, and then I can have somebody online be like Batgirl or Nightwing or something like that. So it looks really good. The combat, again, I think the Arkham series combat is really fun. It's pretty basic. You're just button mashing and you're dodging at the right moment and everything, but it's still very engaging. It's fun. Your upgrades, you got gadgets and all this other shit. So, and I'm sure it's going to follow along. I'm sure it's going to be right in that same genre. So I'm excited. Looking forward to that one. Okay. And also too, so I think I forgot to mention this before. I put a little note here. So Suicide Squad was supposed to come out this year, I think. And they released a trailer earlier this year, and I didn't like it. I thought it looked stupid. I had no interest in that game. When I saw it, people were really going nuts over it. I was, listening to people, on YouTube, and they were going on about how amazing it was and how fun it looked. And it didn't do anything for me. So when it got pushed, I was like, I hope they can fucking clean it up, because I don't know. It just was kind of lame. But this game, the Arkham Knight game, this game looks fucking legit. So I'm really excited for this one. All right, so let's move along here. So Dead Space, there is a remaster for Dead Space. I never played this franchise. As I said before, I don't play scary games or horror games. This game, though, is kind of I don't know, I won't say legendary, but it's very big in the gaming industry. It was doing things in the genre, the horror survival genre, like sci-fi. It was doing things with monsters and things like that, and that were new. So it was kind of innovative at the time. And I saw reviews. I watched people play it, just like videos and stuff. But it looked really cool. I don't like scary games. I don't like when like you have characters and monsters like jump at you all the time, because it's coming. You're constantly. I just don't like that feeling. That, I don't know. Maybe it's anxiety. But they're doing a remaster. This was over on. Let me see here. This was the Verge. Yeah, so the Verge article, this was put up by Jay Peters. EA says Dead Space remake will be released in early 2023. So that's cool. That's a good thing. It's a remaster. So they're just, or I'm sorry, it's a remake. It's not a remaster. So I don't know what that means. I don't know if they're gonna like totally reinvent the game, or if they're just going to take the same principle and just sort of start it over again and then milk the franchise. I hope they don't. I hope they don't do that. I hope that they, like, when I think of a good reboot or a remake, would be Tomb Raider, which I mentioned earlier. The original Tomb Raider was so vastly different than what the current Tomb Raider is right now. It was very lighthearted. It wasn't very serious at all. And, it was just, I don't know how to explain it. It was just more like a button mashing fun action game, with, a pretty girl with a cool accent with dual guns and a cool body, for polygons, because she was, if you go back and watch some of the old Tomb Raider shit, she's like boxy, like everything, like her shoulders like flat. That was just the tech at the time. But when they rebooted the game, they went a completely different route. They gave the story, some real depth and some lore, and they built the character up. I didn't think the game was perfect. It definitely was lacking. There were things about the game that I didn't like story-wise. There were things about the character that I didn't really like. Same things about the side characters that I didn't really like. They're all kind of meh. But the way the game looked, the way the game played, the sort of Metroidvania, where what that means when I say that, it's like Metroid was like the originals of, or one of the original types of games where you would play through a level and there would be things that there were doors you couldn't open, there were chests you couldn't unlock, there were little hidden secrets and things like that you couldn't get to. But when you progress further in the game, you would would acquire the tools needed, or you would find the key to open it, and then you could go back and open up the game. That's how open up the doors and the chest and get the gear and stuff. That's how Metroid was, and Castlevania was the same way. So that's kind of why it's like Metroidvania. It's a mashup of the two games, but that's actually a genre style now. Like, well, I want to say it's not a genre style. It's a place. It's kind of like a design. The way some games are designed. Some games use that, and some games don't do it at all. But this game, the reboot for Tomb Raider, it did, and I really liked it. It was fun. It was cool because you would see shit and like, oh man, I want what's back there, what's in there. It's got to be some upgrades. It's got to be something better, shit to make my guns more powerful, whatever. And usually it was good. And then you would move further down the story, and you would acquire some tool or something that then you could go back and open up these doors and things like that. So you wanted to go back to the previous levels to see, like, oh shit, I want to go see what all the goodies are about. So having said all that, I hope that Dead Space, I hope it goes that route. I hope it does the IP justice, because this was a game that was very beloved. People who play this game, and when this was announced, I mean, this is a big deal. This is, if you don't know, if you never played it, this is going to be a big deal when it comes out. I just hope it's done right. You just never know. And EA's got their fucking name on it, so that's always, anytime I see EA attached to anything, I always get a little suspicious. I just don't trust them. All right, moving along here. Fallout 76. Now, this was an article on AUS Gamer. I don't know if that's like OS Gamer. But let me see here. So what was going on here was there was what was he? He is the design director, Mark Tucker, for Fallout 76. He was talking to this OS Gamers, and he was doing an interview about the roadmap for Fallout 76. So let's back up for just a second. Fallout 76 is it's an always online game. Just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Sorry. Where was I at on that? Sorry, I just kind of got distracted for a second. So anyways, Fallout 76, when it came out, it was an always online, or is an always online game. And it's kind of like the Destiny Division style in a way, / Elder Scrolls Online style. Now, Fallout had up until this point, they had never had a game like this. Fallout was always like a single player campaign where you're trekking through the radioactive wasteland of America after World War III, after a nuclear fallout. And I was never a huge fan of the game, like Fallout 1, 2, 3. Whenever time I saw them, I'm like, it looks pretty cool. It's kind of neat, but it was just very gray, and I don't know. Just at the time, especially, I wasn't really into that type of game. But I jumped in on Fallout 4, and I thought it was a good game. It wasn't shit, but it wasn't fantastic. It wasn't spectacular or anything like that. And it reviewed well, but it was very buggy, and it was the first time since Skyrim where I played a Bethesda game, and I realized just how unfinished their products are. How they force shit out, or they throw shit out, and it's not fucking ready. And that's when I started hearing that's part of the charm argument, that their games being buggy and characters walking through walls and you getting stuck inside of a rock or inside of a door or in a couch, or you falling through the world, that's just part of the charm. That's part of Bethesda's charm. Fuck that. I fucking hate that argument. I've always hated that argument. I cannot stand it. That's an unfinished game. And I would see other games come out that would have some of the same problems and be like, oh, this game's buggy. This is no good. I'm going to give it a 6 instead of an 8, because this game was not ready. It's like, really? You just gave Fallout a fucking 9, and same shit was going on, but it's Bethesda's charm. So yeah, I've always thought that media is covered for Bethesda in that regard, big time. They always get the pass, and I don't understand why. And they're not getting a fucking pass from me. And when I played Fallout 4, I experienced bugs. I experienced weird shit. Fucking people going through walls and fucking flying off the map. I fell through the map a few times. It wasn't, again, I didn't really have too big of an issue with it. It wasn't garbage, but it was very obvious, and it was a very common thing. Especially, I bought it day one, played it day one. It was very common. So it was something I wasn't overlooking at the time. Now, having said that, the gameplay itself, it is a first-person shooter. I think it's not a good first-person shooter, and I think that the combat system that they created for this game in particular, it's called VATS, and I think it's an acronym for something, but I don't remember. But VATS is a way to kind of cover up the fact that it's not a good first-person shooter, and essentially it just slows down time. You hit this button, it slows down time, and then you can point your gun or whatever, your bat or whatever the hell you're using, at different parts of an enemy's body, like weak spots, and you can see how much damage you're going to do. It's not a bad system. It's kind of cool. I like it. I think the VAT system is pretty rad. But when you play, if you take away the VAT system and you play the game just as a first-person shooter, it fucking sucks. It's not a good first-person shooter. Again, you could argue that that's intentional because they want you to use the VATs. They know it's not good, or they intentionally made it that way. That's fine. I don't have any problem with that. Other games have done that too. I think of like The Last of Us. The Last of Us is very hard. You can't like shoot, you can't go running and gun in Call of Duty style. The guns, you're very slow. The motions are slow. They're more realistic. And the guns have, kick and back, they kick back on you real hard. And it's not easy. And it's intentionally that way because it's supposed to be more tense and realistic. That makes sense. That's a design choice. The VAT system in Fallout and the first person shooter, that's a design choice. And that's what I'm gonna give it that. But if you take away VATs, I still think it's shit. It is. I mean, I still think it would not be near as popular if it didn't have the VAT system. But that's okay because it was intentional. Now, having said that, they went to this always online looter shooter style game, and it sucked. It came out and fell flat on its face. Furthermore, Todd Howard, who I think is a liar, well, he came out and bragged about this game and said all this shit. It was all lies. He just made up a bunch of shit. And the game came out, fell on its face, and there was never any recourse for that outside of, obviously sales. People voted with their wallet. I sure as fuck didn't pay for it. And I knew, and when I saw the game and I saw the trailers that they were showing at like E3 and shit, I was like, it just doesn't, you're not selling me yet. Something just seems off. It just doesn't seem clean. It didn't seem good. And sure enough, it was shit. It came out, it wasn't ready, super buggy. It was a mess, a big mess. Well, they made that game, and I think I'm not a big Bethesda fan. I'm not drooling over everything that they do like some people do. Some people think Bethesda is like one of the greatest out there, and I'm like, I don't agree with that, but okay. That's subjective. But the thing with this is, with this game, I think that they were using this 76. They were jumping in to the looter shooter genre. This was their way in to get their Destiny, their Division, their Remnant. They wanted to get a game where they could keep they could put a game out, and they could put the seasons in there. Then you do the raid type shit. Then you do the different missions and the DLCs, and you just keep the players dumping money. That's the goal, right? Because that's what Destiny does. Now, I think that they were trying to do that, and I don't think they had any plans of actually doing another Fallout game anytime soon. I don't know the gist of it. I've heard different things, that this game was supposed to last them for a really long time, but I just don't see how this is going to last. I don't see how this game is going to last. And getting back to this article, the director here, Mark Tucker, he is talking about it being a 5-year roadmap. So what that means is they're looking at the development for the game and the things that are going to be coming out. They're looking for the next 5 years from today. So you're talking like 2027 now. That's how long this game is going to last. I mean, this game is not doing good right now. I mean, it's dying. It came out and fell on its face. It kind of had a little bit of resurgence. They fixed some shit, but it's not doing gangbusters. So I don't know. I don't know how this is going to last. So I want to read this real quick. This was him. How is the team? So this was a question that they asked him. How is the team structured to support Fallout 76 going forward? We've got the 2022 roadmap. Is the team looking beyond that? Mark Tucker says, the funny thing is, if I could share what's on this other monitor right here, you would love to see it because it's a 5-year roadmap that I'm working on. We have long-term plans and things get a little fuzzier the further we go out because we adjust and adapt as things show up and we see what players want and what they're doing. But a lot of my time right now is spent on planning that 3 and 5-year roadmap. The 3-year roadmap is a lot more understood and known. At 5 years, it gets a little more fuzzy, but we're dedicated to updating Fallout 76. I mean, okay. You know, I don't know how they're going to maintain this. I really don't. And I think if I had to just speculate, I think Bethesda's thinking right now is their next big hit's going to be the sequel to Skyrim. That's what they're going to use. Now, before Skyrim, hold on. Let me kind of rephrase that. The next big thing is Starfield because that's coming out this year, and I'm going to talk about that. But the next big sequel for Fallout and, you know, for their IP that they have in-house is Skyrim. So it's kind of like Fallout, then Skyrim, and then they go back and forth. So what's up next would be Skyrim. Skyrim should be the next big game coming from them. Now, they threw Starfield into the mix, and I don't understand the fucking hype about this game. I will talk about that too because there's another story here. But I'm just curious because if they're planning on a Fallout game not coming out for another 5 years at the minimum, and I don't believe that. I believe that if this game is supposed to last 5 years, that means you're not going to get another actual proper Fallout game for like another 3 years after that, 2 years after the minimum. You know, games take years to develop. So yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. If you're a 76er and you love them and you think they're great, you think the game's great, that's awesome. That's, you know, I know it's not doing good and I know it didn't do anything for me. And then so that kind of moves along to the next storyline here, which was Bethesda shows 8 seconds of Starfield. So Starfield is a brand new IP made from Bethesda and made by Bethesda, I should say. And that is coming out. It's supposed to come out this year, November 11th. And let's see, they had an article here I was looking at. Where was it? Here we go. Yeah, this is on Kotaku, if my computer will load it. Let's see. So this was by Ethan Gach over on Kotaku. And I'm not going to read the whole thing. Excuse me. But they did. So I'm going to read these first two paragraphs. So it says Bethesda has unleashed another mini salvo of teases for the upcoming open world space RPG Starfield. Director Todd Howard and others spoke a bit about how factions, companions, and other mechanics will work in the new roundtable video, and also showed 8 whole seconds of what looks like actual Starfield gameplay, maybe. So it's not even for sure, this gameplay. So this shit, man. Hype. Unless it gets delayed, Xbox console exclusive Starfield will be out November 11th. That said, we still haven't really seen Bethesda's next game outside of last year's cinematic trailer and a bevy of concept art. Today, the dam finally broke, and we got what looks like an in-view game of a very friendly robot named Vasco who will help players on their journey. So I watched this, just a few seconds of a robot, and so you know what? Let me move on. Let me get through some of this article. There were some other things I wanted to talk about real quick that are in this article. So there's a roundtable that they released. So it's like Todd Howard and some other designers from Bethesda, and they're discussing Starfield and how they were like coming up with creative shit and what they were putting into the game, and that's what this paragraph is referencing. So throughout the rest of the roundtable, Howard, design director Emil, I'm not going to say his last name because I can't pronounce it, lead quest designer Will Shin, and lead artist Istvan Pelli broke down a bit more about what players can expect from Starfield's intergalactic world. Oblivion's mini game for persuading NPCs is coming back in some form. 4 factions you can deal with: United Colonies, Freestar Collective, Rajun Industries, and Crimson Fleet. Siding with the United Colonies Space Cops won't stop you from also helping the Crimson Fleet pirates. Deeper character trait and background customization. More realistic looking NPCs. Okay, to me this sounds like so fucking broad stroke shit, and I don't understand why. I understand why people get excited. I get it. There are games coming that I'm very excited for, and I get hyped for it. And I understand why people get excited. And if you're excited for this game, good. The thing that I don't understand is when I hear like media and content creators, and this article was pretty chill. It wasn't even that I was expecting like, oh my God, it's the greatest thing ever. This is going to be fucking amazing. It's not. And it's actually being a little bit skeptical. And I'm not a fan of Kotaku, so I'm not here to fucking say, oh, I like them because they say they think like I do in this one time. No, this is just a coincidence that they're writing it the same way that I was kind of hearing it. This is just some more dev talk and dev speak, and this is the type of shit that I've heard before from other devs when they say they put this thought into this, and they were thinking that, and they were jotting down a fucking idea on a cocktail napkin one fucking Saturday evening, and it's just like it's like, okay, that's cool. I understand creative people, they go through their processes and everything, and I don't mind listening to how some of the behind the scenes shit. I don't mind that, but this to me, this was just four guys like talking. They weren't really saying, in this game, you're going to do these things, and this is what it looks like. In this game, we have completely changed blah, 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 and we're putting in this brand new system. It was very top tier shit. It wasn't really, they weren't really getting into detail about anything. And I just thought, I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. I mean, it's not bad. What I'm talking about here, I don't think the things that they're saying, I'm not saying that they're bad. It was just, I've listened to some YouTubers go on about this, and they're like, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And furthermore, there's some people out there who are like it's like Todd Howard was the one who decided to slice the bread before they served it. Like it was his idea. Like it's like this. I'm sorry, dude. He was caught lying about Fallout 76, through and through. And he apologized, and they sort of apologized, but it wasn't really an apology. It was more like, whatever, you still bought it. It was just like, I don't know. I thought it was kind of grimy. But I just feel like that people are just putting so much stock into this game. And I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say this game doesn't make it this year. If it does, great. If this is the game that I want it to be, because I'm a huge fan of science fiction and I love RPGs. You put the two together, you've made, you've set the bar for me. I'm good to go. One of the funnest like science fiction RPGs that I can think of that I've ever played was Mass Effect. Absolutely love those games. If we're going in that direction, I'm in. I'm cool with that. It's just when I hear all this love and I hear all this trust in Todd Howard of all people, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. And furthermore, when I talk about hype and how people get excited, so last year when they released this cinematic trailer, it really was fucking generic. It was very, very simple shit. It looked okay. It wasn't like it was trash, but people were dissecting it and just fucking, it was like they were connecting dots that weren't even on the table. They were looking at something like, oh my God, you could probably do this. And I'm sure I wonder, and this is probably what's going to be. And it's like, you don't know that. This could just be it's just a pair of gloves sitting on a table. Like, why are we freaking out about it? And it was just so much, oh my God, and you see the ship and you see the controls and all this. And it's like, man, you're like, it's a cinematic trailer. And I feel like over the years, over the last decade, there's been so many E3s that have come out where devs come out and they parade some shit on stage and they show off this brand new IP or this new game or the sequel to so-and-so, and they're bragging and boasting and they're going behind the scenes and they're giving us how they came up with all these ideas, and then the fucking game comes out and doesn't look anything like they showed at E3. That's happened before, and it's happened a lot, and everyone's been guilty of it. Xbox, Sony, Nintendo, they're pretty decent. They're probably like the one that I would say usually you know what you're going to get with them. Now, developers, Ubisoft, Bethesda, everyone has been guilty of this at some point. And it's just sort of, I don't understand that. Maybe it's just me because I've seen, I think I've been watching E3s. I'm trying to think. It was like, it's been a long time when I like discovered what E3 was, and then made a point to like seek it out on the internet and find it before it was like, could be streamed, where everything was just, this was before things were just being streamed anywhere. And there's some, most of the time it was like, you had to read in an article in an actual magazine to find out what happened at E3. This type of shit has happened so often, and I don't understand why people get so hyped. And furthermore, they read so much into just little things. It's like, why don't we just wait? Let's just be a little bit more patient. And I hear people fucking bugging out over this game. It's like, okay, if this game comes out and it's another Fallout 76, which I don't think it's going to be. I think that Fallout 76 was kind of a one-off because Bethesda was trying to do some shit that they had no business doing. They weren't ready for a looter shooter. They took an IP and they slapped it into a looter shooter genre. That's all they did. They didn't create a new IP and then make and build it from the ground up as a looter shooter, which is what they should have done, and they didn't. And I think that was just a poor business decision, and they lied about it. They said it was going to be all this great shit, and it never turned out to be anything that they said. Whatever. People live and learn. I just think that, this being a new IP, I'm excited. I want to see what's going on. I want to see what's happening, but I haven't seen anything yet. I haven't seen anything. And I think that there's an argument that's out there where people are saying they need to show more. Why are they keeping it so close to the vest? This is a bad sign. This doesn't look good. I don't think so. I don't think it looks bad. I don't think so. I don't think showing too much is a good thing. And we've seen plenty of developers do that. Ubisoft comes to mind. Jesus, when Watch Dogs 2 came out, I felt like I'd played the game. By the time I'd actually played it, I felt like I had seen everything that the game had to offer. I knew everything that was going into that game. So I was just more like, oh, okay, well, what's the story wrapped around all this gameplay that I've already seen at E3 and all these videos? Like they just blanketed the market with all of this preview shit. And it did the total opposite effect. They could be going the complete 180 from that and just drip feeding, and then they're going to drop like a big badass trailer, and then the game will be released 3 months later. That's smart. I ain't got no problem with that. I just don't trust Todd Howard. I just don't trust Bethesda. And some people, I don't know. I listen to different podcasts and I listen to different channels, and when I hear people go on and on about how, that Bethesda is so great, and them just being with Microsoft, who is just so fucking fantastic, it's just a no-lose situation. It's like, no one's paying attention. That's just some green tinted glasses that you're looking at that through. Because, and again, I'm not here to just shit all over Xbox. That's not at all what I'm thinking here. It's just when I listen to people talk about certain things, I don't understand them. I don't understand, and some of the things that they discuss and the points that they make, I feel like they're blatantly overlooking some of the negative, and you're latching on to some of the or whatever positive there is, and they're just ignoring the bad, and I can't do that. I can't ignore the bad like that. After, like I said, I've been burned by so many games that are supposed to be great, and all the E3s and all these different conferences or whatever, and like Gamescom and what's the other one? There's another one. There's like 3 big ones that happen usually annually, but since 2020, that shit's gone. Speaking of, let's move along here. EA pulls out of E3. So this is something that I want to talk a little bit about this one because this was an article over on, I saw this on Games Radar. This was put up by Joss West, and it says EA plays the first showcase to abandon E3 2022, but it won't be the last. It's time to start preparing for a quiet June as publishers begin to pull away from E3 2022. Now, so EA's, I think they're in total damage control right now. After Battlefield 2042 and all of the negative press that they just seem to get, and because of these are self-inflicted wounds. I don't think this is anyone picking on on EA, but they've just made some poor decisions. They're all about that money. They're very corporate, and they have to deal with that sort of, if they're going to be corporate and they're going to make everything based on corporate decisions and money, you just got to live with that criticism, because games are, for the most part, they're art. They're art generated to make money, but it's still art. And EA just doesn't see it that way. All they give a shit about is, raking in cash. And they're fucking, super rich, so good for them. But regardless, so they pulled out of E3, and so I don't think there was an E3 last year, 2021. I was so tuned out. I was so irritated with so many things at the time that I was just like checked out, and I don't even recall. I know there wasn't one in 2020 for obvious reasons, but the last, I think it was E3, I want to say it was 2018, that everyone was there. And I'm talking about Nintendo was there. Or no, I think it was before then, because Nintendo pulled out first. Nintendo was the first big name to pull out, and they started doing, what do they call them now? I can't remember what it's called. They basically do, they do a online video E3 style, where it's just like a showcase, where it's like a 45-minute showcase of everything that's coming out. And instead of doing it on a stage on the E3 and paying for all this space and giving all the money to the LA Convention Center and whatever, and the people who put on the show, they just decided, fuck it, we're just going to do these little, these small videos where it's only Nintendo's little message, and they don't have to worry about anything, and it's all produced, and there's no flubs, there's no anything like that. They did that, oh man, I want to say it was like 2016, 17, something like that. It's been a while, but they were the first to back out. And then Sony was fucking kicking ass in E3. They dropped a few big, just badass E3s, and then they pulled out. And when they pulled out, that's when I kind of was like, because Nintendo does weird shit. So them doing something like that really didn't mean much. That's just Nintendo being Nintendo. When Sony did it though, that was a big deal. And E3, to me, that E3, I was like, the only thing I cared about was Microsoft. What's Microsoft doing? Because usually how E3 used to be, and if you don't know, E3 is the Electronic Expo. It's in LA every year. It's in June. And it's all the big console makers and all the big developers. They show up, and it's a big convention. They have booths, and they have all these cool booths. Like, I'm talking like huge, big, elaborate booths where there's like haunted houses and fucking spaceships and all this other shit, basically all themed after the game that they're there to promote. And then they would provide consoles and stuff and demos for media to play. And then later on, for actual just people like me who aren't media, they started selling tickets for people to show up just off the, not off the street, but just, regular people. And because it used to be just mainly for just media only. And then they opened the doors. And a lot of people said at the time that was sort of the precursor to E3 sort of dying, because E3 was starting to become less and less exciting. And I think there's multiple reasons for that, but getting back to like the format, every E3, it lasted for like 6 days or something like that. It started on like Thursday and ended on Monday, something like that. Or 5 days, 4 days, whatever. And Sony would have a day, Nintendo would have a day, and Xbox would have their own day. They would each space their shit out. And those were the three big, you want to see what the first party studios are doing. And you want to see what Sony or Xbox, who are they working with? Who's the third party studio that they made a big deal with to get this exclusive game? That was big stuff. And it was very exciting. It was very dramatic. There was a lot of highs, a lot of lows. It was fun to watch fucking these people get up on stage and just flub the shit out of everything. They'd be showing off demos of a game and the shit would crash, or, microphones would cut out, people would miss their cues, and it was fun. It was just I always enjoyed them, for the cringy shit and for the shit for like the big news, because there was a lot of big news drops and there was a lot of holy shit moments. I think a lot of it just had to do with the fact that everything's just so accessible now. I think that's a big reason. And also I think it's because of money. It costs a lot of money. They're paying these, like Sony and Microsoft and Ubisoft and all the other ones, EA. they're paying fuck ton of money just to have stage time, just to have a booth, because the show is being put on by a company, and so you're paying the company for all this shit and this time and space. And I think Nintendo led the way, and then Sony followed suit, and then EA. I mean, EA E3. After when Sony pulled out, that to me was like, oh, that's it. That's if they don't come back, because especially at that point, Sony was just they were hitting, like their PS4 was, everything was just clicking for them. They were doing all the right things. And then Sony decided to do their own sort of E3 sort of presentation, and they fucking built an actual like arena. Like, it was huge. They built this gigantic building in the fucking parking lot in LA, just a few blocks from where E3 was, from the LA Convention Center. And it was all Sony. It was all Sony, and they had this huge production, and it was a decent showing. I thought there was some really cool shit that they did. Some of it sort of missed. They made some poor decisions, but then 2020 happened, and that sort of changed everything. That changed the face of everything. But E3 was a big deal, especially for a gamer like me. I was always looking forward to E3 every year. It was like, it's like the Super Bowl for gaming. And now it's just a shell of what it was. It's not really, and I think it's dead. I think this is the end of E3. I thought it was the end when Sony pulled out. And then Sony started doing the same thing that Nintendo was doing, which, God, it's driving me nuts. I can't remember the name of what they call those things, what Nintendo calls them, but Sony started doing the State of Play. That's how that's how the State of Play sort of became such a big deal. And furthermore, they started doing, God, what was it called? They did a PlayStation event. I forgot what it's called. It might have just been that. So they sort of did their own little baby E3, at a different time in the year. And they started going their own route, and it made sense, right? Why fucking rent or buy shit from other people when you can just do it all yourself? They have the money, they can produce it, they can have film editors and sound directors and orchestras and actors, and they can do everything. They can do it all, and they don't need E3. So I don't know. It makes sense, and I understand it, but it does bum me out, because E3 was a big deal, and that's all this article really is. It's just talking about how E3 is the schedule is already barren, and now EA is pulling out. EA, I think, just doesn't have a lot to show right now. They don't really have a lot going on for them, so it doesn't surprise me there, but still makes me sad. E3 was cool. I really loved it. All right, so the other thing that I was going to get into, and I actually forgot, and I just ran out of time, was the Hogwarts State of Play from Sony. I haven't watched it. I knew it was coming. I was going to make time, and I just ran out of time this weekend with this, getting everything set up. But I'm going to watch it, and I'm going to pick it up next week. I will talk about the Hogwarts State of Play, which is Harry Potter. And, Harry Potter's huge, and I get it. I understand why it's a big deal. It just never did anything for me. Never read the books. I watched the first movie, and I was like, oh, cool, this is a neat little movie. But, it never grabbed me. Like my niece, she's the biggest Harry Potter fan. Like, she's the biggest one that I know, like that I'm, related to. She's read all the books. She watched all the movies. She's, she knows all about it. So, good for her. I know there's a crowd, and I know Harry Potter is just, huge and massive. And this game is supposed to be something special. It's supposed to be like an always online where you're actually you create a character and actually go to Hogwarts, and you sort of live out your fantasy as, as a wizard, a modern day wizard. So that's cool. I hope it's good. Like I said, I haven't even watched a single frame of it, so I will pick it up next week. But I'm going to wrap it up there. That is the end of the show for me today. Thank you for taking the time. Appreciate you stopping in. And if you like the video and want to share it with your friends, if you haven't subscribed, click that button, click the notification bell. As you can see, I'm kind of tired. It's been a long weekend, especially dealing with this microphone issue. But anyways, I appreciate you taking the time for the Sunday Sum Up. Have a great week. I will see you next weekend. Bye.